what's going to happen? Oh, no, Joe's got to go. The whole thing's on fire right now. So that's what we want to talk about first. And
that's what everybody's talking about right now. At least in the political game, we've always covered political topics. And honestly, my precursor to this has always been they keep pointing to poll numbers. And I've said the polls aren't that important too far out from the election. All Joe Biden has to do is keep himself coherent and competent. And when people hear the crazy shit coming out of Trump's mouth, it'll be fine. Everything will level out. We'll get the same type of results that we see in special elections that have all gone to Democrats and leaned against polling positive to Democrats.
That's what it was looking like.
Then the debate happened, and I saw Joe Biden really struggle to like put together sentences at times. Sometimes he went full incoherent. It was a really bad look. Nobody's denying that. And the Democratic Party's response has been rumors of their concerns. Some of them, a small handful, have come out and said he should step down or that they're concerned. But a lot of it has been like we're hearing in back doors that they're really concerned, but nobody wants to tell Joe to step down. And so it created this whole drama of how are we going to handle the election? It's so close to the election. Should the Democrats change Joe Biden for Kamala Harris or one of the governors like Newsom or Whitmer? Or should they ride this out and take their chances, and which gives them the best odds to win?
Yeah, so that's where we're at. And, I've been watching just the reactions right after. So let's start with the debate. First of all, I don't like either one of these candidates like most Americans. And I wasn't a big Biden supporter by any stretch of the imagination. However, between Trump and Biden, I would have picked Biden. That wasn't really that was a no-brainer for me on a policy basis. However, after watching that debate, it's not like I'm not Team Trump by any means, but there is no hope left for me in what I saw. And I know that there's so much back and forth. I've been watching like Pac-Man and, Kalinsky and more left-wing stuff. I watched Majority's take on it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to get these different left show opinions. I've seen some of Oliemi's. I've seen some of just a bunch of them. I watch Crazy Ass Jank going off on yelling at people on different podcasts.
I can't watch Jank anymore. But, he's just a cartoon character to me at this point.
But
he's over the top with it.
He is over the top with it. But he's actually been calling out Joe to jump out of this thing since the beginning of time. And it seems like after what we saw in that debate, my concern is that I just think that most people probably watched that and thought, This is not someone who's likely to be around in 4 years. He can't manage to get through this. How can he run the country? Yeah. And then, like you were saying, with the story that came out with, he had that foreign meeting set up. They scheduled it early. He still didn't make it to the meeting.
Didn't have the energy or something
to get there. And then it was Blinken who went in. And my thought about that was, how many times does this happen? And then who's really running the show then? Mm-hmm. This guy's constantly going in there to be his face.
And it also feels like one of the things that they're using as an excuse is the president isn't the only one running the president's office. There's a whole team that puts things together, and the results are what matter. And this president has gotten the results is what they're trying to point to. There's the economic results, manufacturing. Got it, huh? But manufacturing is going up. They're finally seeing slowdowns in inflation. Unemployment rates are low. Like, they're pointing to all these things. But I just think, like, where big politics head, we follow policy. I, read the laws sometimes to see where they're going with it. We follow, Supreme Court decisions. I don't think a lot of people do that. And so my initial thought, the reason I thought advantage Biden was because Trump says so much craziness, can't have EV boats because they'll electrocute the water, and then you're on a sinking ship, and you either get electrocuted or eaten by sharks. Like, that's a real rant from Trump, and it's crazy. Windmills killing creatures and shit, causing hurricanes and psychotic shit. I thought he'd make enough crazy comments that it would overtake the conversation, but the conversation ever since the debate has only been, can Joe Biden even get through the next 4 years? And for anybody who's not a politics head, that isn't going to be hyper focused and isn't going to know what the what's the policy 2025 project 2025 is, or agenda 47. Anybody who's not going to read about those things in detail, it's just going to come down to, some people are telling me it says this, some people are telling me it says that. I don't know who to believe, but Joe Biden looks completely confused on stage, and Donald Trump can say a full sentence. And that's where I get worried, because that's the sentiment I've gotten from normies, from people who don't follow politics as close as us.
That's my problem.
For me, it totally makes sense for anybody who gives the speech of, I would vote for, they could weekend at Bernie's Joe Biden up and down the stage, and I would still give him the vote over all the crazy shit I see on the Republican agenda and platform. I think it's ridiculous, personally. I don't see any value to their policy run unless you're a Christo-conservative fascist. Like, straight up, I have no faith in any of the shit they're proposing. The Supreme Court granting, like, complete immunity to the president worries me. They just overturned Chevron doctrine. Like, these are major things that could really impact our future, and it's only going to move more towards those negative signs that I'm seeing if Trump gets in. So I don't care who's on the blue ticket. I'm stuck voting for them. But I get when people tell me, I don't want to vote for that. Look, that guy can't even say words.
That's the problem.
Whether or not people, and the argument has been, oh, behind closed doors, he seems fine. When we talk to him, you just need to see it. Well, then put him out there and have him prove it, because these little mini interviews, these phone interviews where he's clearly reading off papers, or the questions are pre-planned, that's not convincing anybody. And if he can't do those appearances to convince people, then he's just got no shot. I'm sorry, he's not changing minds. I heard a couple
things. One was, somebody said, I think it was posted on X or Twitter, the DNC, Democratic Party as a whole, hasn't shown anything in regard to how they plan to win this thing or what they plan to do here. Mm-hmm. And that's worrisome. Yeah. But on top of that, you're right. Like, here's some funny stuff about where we are with this whole political situation, right? The fact of the matter is that if you force the election to happen today, we have Project 2025, which is probably the sickest, most weirdo shit I've ever seen.
We're firing thousands of people to replace them with sycophants who will do what we want. Exactly.
Somebody said, what's the difference between Mein Kampf and Project 2025? But anyway, you have that as a choice, or this, essentially Walking Dead guy who can't finish a sentence, who we have to count on with the nuclear football. It's a terrible thing for all Americans to be stuck there. And then to know that they can fix that by swapping him out. And then the worry is, how do you do that? Whose feelings get hurt? Who said it's okay or not? It's all fucking weird.
What bothers me,
the way you hear it, at least in the media, not when you look, not from the lens that we're looking and digging into every political show we can find and trying to find as much information. Not even that level. Like,
yeah, I think the best path forward, and this is supported by the poll numbers that I've seen, is Kamala Harris. And she's the VP. She was supposed to be next in line. And I was under the impression that there was a plan to pass the torch to her during the first. Like, I thought Biden wasn't planning on running the second term initially.
I thought he wasn't running.
Maybe I got that wrong. I got to look and see if I can find something to cite.
He definitely was supposed to be a one-term president. That was the initial thing he came out with. And I don't know that it was expected to go direct.
That it continued like that?
Not to go to Kamala. I didn't know. Obviously, being the VP, you assume it's going to her.
And I also think that...
But here's my problem with the Kamala thing. My problem is that prior to this snafu of them getting fucking caught out there playing Weekend at Bernie's with this guy, I didn't hear anything good about Kamala ever from anyone. And now it's very easy for people to figure out why, reasons to make it fit. Like but it worries me.
Again, I'll go back to anybody that can put together coherent sentences can
be better.
Stand on stage and be like, yeah, what Donald Trump just said is totally untrue. And you asked him about fentanyl in the country and he just told you he's going to ban all immigration. Like, that's not solving fentanyl or drug addiction crises in America. Sorry, dude. That's magically going to stop all of these things. No, that's not how it works. That was a dumb answer. And I also think she has advantages when Roe v. Wade is a major part of this story and women's autonomy, having a female president. When
I think
you have a person who is a convicted felon, there's just obvious advantages. And having somebody who can campaign against him frequently, can do appearances and long interviews, and can maybe freestyle a little bit. I will take Pete Buttigieg. I hate all these people. Kamala Harris. You could put.
Let me ask you
any
this.
number of these people
as just a hypothetical. What happens right now? They decide, fuck it, this guy's got to go.
Mm-hmm.
Swap out Kamala's in.
Yep.
And then almost immediately she shits the bed hard, like very fast.
Could she shit the bed worse than Joe Biden did at the debates?
Well,
how? Explain to me, what's the moment that Kamala Harris does worse than what we saw objectively in that debate? How bad would she
I don't
have
think
to go?
It has to be debate, but there is a path where in a month from now, there's no fucking way she's crossing the finish line. It's that bad. What do you do in that case? Is there still a swap out available?
You pick your person and you go now. But the fact is, I think the reason we have this conversation is because Joe Biden's age is such an issue. Yes, any other candidate is going to have their pros and their cons and their issues. But we want somebody who can campaign, she has the connection to this previous administration and everything they've done. She's connected to it. So all of their victories, she can wear those as her badges of success. And instead of having a conversation that is completely about should Joe Biden even be running, we can talk about what are your plans for the next 4 years. And if you put whatever the Democrats put up against Project 2025 and you really start listing those things off, if we can make that the conversation instead of look how old this guy is, advantage Democrats no matter who that person is.
I agree.
And sure, there will be attempts to pivot that conversation to other negative spaces. Doesn't matter. I think we can get way more conversation on policy, the shit we care about, over maybe the president is too old to last for 4 more years. That's a scary proposition.
So I agree. I think that it's got to be swapped out, and the likely thing is going to be that it ends up being Kamala. She does worry me as a candidate overall, but not worse than what we're seeing with. Like, I think,
and for sake of clarity,
I think Biden is no chance.
If I had any choice, I would put Elizabeth Warren up, because Elizabeth Warren ran her last campaign on the threat of the judiciary and how we have to reform the judiciary because the Supreme Court is going to do serious damage and turn this country's backwards. And guess what? In the next 4 years, the Supreme Court did all that shit. They overturned Roe. They threw away the Chevron doctrine. They granted immunity that gives Trump all the cover he has for any of the nonsense he did last time and into this time. Plus, they made it impossible to present evidence against him. Crazy rulings coming out of these guys while they're also being busted.
They're unethical practices.
Yeah, completely unethical practices. Collecting gifts from people who have interest in their cases. Their wives are helping try to coup the country and overturn the election results. Like, that's a huge mess. And the one who was at the forefront of arguing against it was Elizabeth Warren. She had plans in place to handle the courts so that we didn't run into these issues. So I would personally go Elizabeth Warren over any of them, including Bernie. Shout out to Bernie. That's my dog. But I think Warren's campaign now, in retrospect, looks way more effective. And I think if I had any choice, it would be her. But realistically, who's got the best shot? I think you keep Kamala Harris. She's got all the connections. and then you pick one of these governors. It can't be Newsom if it's Kamala Harris because same state, but maybe Whitmer.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. We'll see what they do if they finally pull the trigger on anything. There has been, well, before I get into that, I wanted to mention that I find it peculiar that this guy, Professor Alan Lynchman, we've seen him on several shows now going around.
He's got the 13 points.
Yeah, he's got the,
So he's got
here's my
these-
13 points. This is why he believes Biden is the strongest to beat Trump if the Democrats want to, according to his 13 points.
They're like
whatever.
a checklist of things that you need to check these boxes to win a presidency, and if you check more than your opponent, you win.
It's
But
funny because
incumbency plays a huge role in it.
I seen him on a couple of shows now. I seen him on Pac-Man. Prior to the debate, Pac-Man was probably one of Joe Biden's like loudest supporters that I've seen. He wouldn't like directly come out like I'm a Democrat for Joe Biden. He would just consistently list how fantastic Joe Biden's policies
The successes. He would go
Yeah.
to the policy successes, which
Which
there
is a
are
smart
some.
way to do it,
Even
right?
as a progressive, I can
But he was
fully
very
acknowledge.
on that boat, and since then I think he's been kind of way more on the fence about it. But he had this guy on, and I guess this kind of reinforces the Joe Biden should stay in. Maybe this is better, but I just find it peculiar that they weren't parading this dude around before the debate.
Yeah, I'd
like
heard of him. I'd heard of
A
the
couple
checklist
times here or there
last
but I
time,
hadn't
but-
seen him on all these shows all of a sudden. It's like, no,
Yeah.
keep him in. He's the best. But I just find it interesting. And it's going to be more interesting to see what happens. I wanted to also mention that I saw on social media that George Clooney
Oh yeah,
had got the okay from Obama to
to
come
write
out.
that letter.
Yeah.
Obama gave the okay.
he got the
to
green- right.
Barack Obama.
So that's what I heard. It's social media, right? But then I saw a report after that was going around now, and I see a report that Schumer is now open to pulling support for Biden. So I'm just wondering if the chips are falling and there's like shuffling the cards.
When we say
right
the
now.
chips are falling, that just means they finally got the down ballot poll data that tells all the people in Congress, oh shit, my district is suddenly a
Or
toss
they
up.
finally got some donor calls.
Now it's a toss up. Well, apparently I was reading that the Democratic base donors are really drying up, and that now it's like the progressives getting their grassroots money is probably the only thing coming in. But I don't know how real that is or if that's just exaggeration. I will say we should have a conversation as the left leaners about how the progressive wing of the party has been like, y'all deal with this. We got Joe Biden's back as long as he says he's running. When you change your mind, we'll change our conversation, but we're not going to wear the flag of being the bad guys on this one. And
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of left leaning people disappointed in that and
So,
wanting them to
Let's announce that, and then I want you to pick it up again. But for this next story, which is feeding off of the one we just started with, but the progressives have seemed to, and what I mean is like the squad members, AOC, Bernie, Ilhan Omar, they have come out in support of Biden and said we're standing behind our guy, which is in an interesting stance, and a lot of people have a huge question mark about that. So that's where he's taken off, and we're starting that story right now.
You want to get right into it?
Yeah, let's.
All right, so let's discuss the reasons why maybe the progressives have chosen to back up Joe Biden in this desperate situation where we're panicked about it. A lot of lefties are worried about it. Why has AOC come out behind Joe Biden? Why has Bernie Sanders spoken in support of Joe Biden? And the Progressive Caucus as a whole, like Pramila Jayapal as the leader of the Progressive Caucus, has also voiced support. And I've seen a lot of left-leaning voices and content creators who I support and I look to for, to get good takes and good ideas and to think about these issues. I've seen a lot of them disappointed. But to me, having seen so many election cycles where it always comes back to some type of, if we lose, it's the progressives' fault. if we win, in your face progressives, like, because of that, I am now of the thought, no, let them deal with it, because as soon as you plant your flag officially on Joe Biden has to go, if Joe Biden stays in and loses, it's your fault. The progressives were the ones that led this charge. And if he wins, they're not going to be, it would be, you wanted him out. Look at you. Now we got to get rid of all of you. So just don't even do it. Don't let them deal with it, because the leadership has pushed them out of a lot of these important positions and conversations before. They don't have the same influence, or they haven't been treated with that same influence. Joe Manchin had more influence over legislation last time. So you know what? I think, whatever, let them figure it out, and we'll step in and we're just going to do what you guys decide, and we'll worry about our districts.
I feel like, first of all, I feel like 100% there was a strategic element. There was a strategy at play for them to all at the same time kind of, we got Biden's back.
Yeah.
But I wonder if they're playing a card, or they're banking on, like, he's going to stay in. He has a good shot to win, and he's going to remember that we were the fucking first ones to jump up.
We didn't
I don't know.
Turn on him.
Or did Bernie sit down with him and be like, look, I can get you the progressive back right now, but we want this.
Maybe. I mean, I haven't heard any horse trading.
But now here's the problem that I have with all of this. Is it possible to do any of this with Biden brain?
As long as Biden wants to.
Between what time and what time? Like, come on.
He probably wakes up early at least. But that's where you get your extra hours, and that's 6 a.m. wake up.
4 a.m., 4:30 a.m. wake up.
But the thing is, historical precedent suggests that the Democratic Party isn't going to force this guy out. We have segments about Dianne Feinstein. We've had segments way back about different Supreme Court justices and how they refuse to step down. There's even an issue right now. Like, there have been conversations about Sonia Sotomayor, who is my second favorite Supreme Court justice when you read the way they write out their opinions. Ketanji Jackson is great. She's my favorite right now. But Sotomayor is my second favorite. But there is risk associated with her going into the next cycle that potentially she may need to step down. So people have said step down early. She's not doing that. And that's a consistent thing with the Democratic Party. They don't step down. Nancy Pelosi stopped being the leader of the House, but she's still in her seat. And we see that over and over again. Why would we expect different when it comes to Biden? Like, I always consider the Democratic leadership pretty feckless. Like, they do not.
I think you have to
make bold moves. They don't make bold moves.
I think you have to literally die.
Yeah.
Like, to get out, because they'll wheel you out until the end.
Exactly.
Until the end.
They'll